Ooh, ooh. So we should be live on Facebook. No, on YouTube. Similarly dreadful. Yeah, there we go. We are. Okay. Blimey. Got a story to tell about YouTube this week. In fact, most of the show is about censorship this week. Yeah, looking forward to this. Big chats with who have we got this week? We've got Daniel Bullen. Oh no, blimey. Oh no, we haven't. Oh, Struth, I need to start again. Dan Grant. We've got Dan Grant using a pseudonym. Sorry, Dan. He is a historical writer and writes a lot about communism and stuff like that. Going to be comparing what we're seeing today with more traditional communism that we've seen in the last century or so. And then we have got David Vance popping on hour 2 of Daily Chaos today, who is a vocational journalist, been very active over the last few years, as many of you know, and he's been going to be giving his take on where we are. And we're concentrating very, very much on specifically the Pravda-like tactics of the so-called social media, particularly YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And just, really, are they actually evil? Yeah. So YouTube, if you don't like this and you want to ban it because you don't like us asking genuine questions about you deciding that we're not allowed to ask questions about a vaccine that doesn't vaccinate, according to a whole bunch of studies, that is the evidence. If we're not even allowed to ask legitimate questions about that, then I question your legitimacy and whether I even want to be on YouTube, frankly. So, if you're going to ban this video, whatever. I'm not going to stop asking legitimate questions. Anyway, going to be looking into all of that. So, just a very quick roll call. Boozy, can you hear me? And
yes,
Dan.
I can hear you. I just had to mute.
Good man.
Unmute myself.
Good man. And Dan, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you clearly.
Lovely. Looking forward to this. And David Vance is going to be joining us in hour 2. So coming up in about an hour. Right. I need to patch in to Revolution Radio. It should be going out on wakeupuk.net and at YouTube. And so let's patch into Revolution Radio as well. Here we go. Will this work?
For an anarcho-syndicalist commune, we take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week, but all the decisions of the...
So we're there, yeah? That's Revolution Radio's ad break. Coming up in about, 90 seconds, something like that, people. Precisely, knows damn it. Yes, Daily Chaos coming up then. So if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward about 90 seconds. Alternatively, look, just a quick shout out to folks. I'm trying to take this show to 5 days a week. Every show takes about nearest damn it a day to produce, getting a couple of guests or what have you, some stringers to make this as cool a show as possible. It takes a long time to produce. To get it to 5 days a show, I do need, it's a full-time job. So please, if you can help, if you like the show, if you like the content that I put out, the kind of folks that I interview, if you want more and more of that, then please help me to make this full-time. And you can do that by going to buymeacoffee.com down there, /Daily Chaos. And I will come up with a more sophisticated donation platform or whatever. At the moment, I'm working on our system for news links at dailychaos.news, which is very, very shortly going to launch. Very, very soon now. I thought it was going to be about 2 weeks ago. It might be 2 weeks' time, but it's on the way. Blimey, we need to start the show. Right, coming up in about 10 seconds. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start, after the ad break with Revolution Radio.
Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
I wouldn't go that far.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
I love that. I love that. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Yeah.
I say to that, for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
The future is uncertain. I know this. Death is inevitable. I know this. But one thing is certain, as free men, it is our right to live unencumbered and in peace. And those times are quickly drawing to an end. And in these times, peace is certainly an illusion, and as the chains grow tighter, our ability to slip those chains increase incrementally with every passing moment. Inaction is no longer an option. It's time to raise our voices like a cacophony of thunder and lightning and tell the masters no more. And this is Nighthawk, and I say, for myself, no more. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, because the freedom is slipping away. All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Hey folks, this is Daily Chaos coming up right now. Right now. Yeah. Morning all. Afternoon. Good evening, wherever you happen to be. And welcome to the Daily Chaos. The show ain't daily, but the chaos is. I'm Ollie Connolly. Thanks for turning up. I'll tell you what, I have a real problem navigating all these buttons and knobs, you know, in this intro bit. Just trying to fade the thing up and down is as much of a nightmare as anything. Right, today, you fake, you fake, 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 you fake, 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 fake. Yeah, that's you, YouTube. Guests, Dan Grant and David Vance. Honorary appearance from, God bless him, Chris Boozy, stateside stringer. And last week's show, you might have noticed, we Godfrey Bloom and Robin Tilbrook got banned from YouTube within hours of airing live. And they didn't just remove it, yeah. YouTube made it impossible for me to download my own content to air elsewhere. I had already downloaded it, but that's not the point. I've been trying to put it on BitChute, and by the way, BitChute's uploading thing is a nightmare. I've tried to put it up there about 10 times, and every time it's failed. Aye, we so need an alternative to YouTube. YouTube not only censored, but stole my interviews last week. Oh, hold on. That's the outro. Yeah, I told you I was bad with this tech bit. Anyway, and the reason YouTube gave, quote, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy, yeah? So what policy is that? That folks like me are supposed to get dosed with some vaccine that doesn't vaccinate and that is not even FDA approved because some globalist puppet tells us so. or is the policy YouTube? And this is a question you have a right to reply. You can come on the show whenever you like. Call in today. ko.click/Zoom. Yeah. Or is the policy, more accurately, YouTube doesn't give a damn about fair questions and balanced debate and is a propaganda vehicle for the globalist agenda for a new world order, i.e. the Great Reset. YouTube, like Google, is evil. Debate. Hey, Amanda, downliner, Pauline, Boozy, downliner, and downliner, hello. Over on the Rev Radio in the chat there, revolution.radio, people, go and check that out. Go support Revolution Radio, for goodness sake, it's awesome. We got all sorts of folks in there. Hey Harry, Dawns, Mace, Capfred, Popsicle Toes, Rick Americano, sorry Sunflower. God bless you lot. Big cheers to Mitchell Buck for Revolution in the Morning that was just on over at revolution.radio. And hello, wakeupuk.net. Hello, God bless you, you lot. I don't know who's in there in the chat room. I'll go and check it out. Hold on, let's have a look. Oh, at the moment it is... I got reconnected. It's just me. Oh, come on, boys at Wake Up UK. Come on, let's get this show listened to. Right, I don't blame them actually, because I was so useless taking their comments last week that they probably couldn't be bothered with this week. I did have some technical problems. Guess what? As is the case every week. Right, okay, let's get the show on the road. Banned. Dan, who wants me to use his pseudonym because he doesn't want to get sacked. I don't blame you. Am I unfair about YouTube, or was YouTube right to censor, questions about this so-called vaccine, this quackscene?
YouTube shouldn't have censored at all. The point of a platform like YouTube or Facebook or any platform is to allow for discussion. The only things they should be banning is anybody that wants to incite violence. That's it. They shouldn't just censor just because it's inconvenient for them. And one important point is, why do you need fact checkers? And my advice to all the viewers is, if you see anything in a search engine that says fact check, keep away from it. Because ask yourself, who runs those fact checkers? Yes.
Okay. We'll come on to that. We'll come on to fact checkers in a sec. Now you are a historian. You know a lot about political history, and you've written books about communism and stuff like that. Is YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, are these so-called social networks the modern alternative to Soviet-era Pravda?
Oh yeah, big time. I think it's worse. Because where before with Pravda in the Soviet Union, whether it be the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, Romania under Nicolae Ceausescu, if you spoke out, you were just disappeared, simple as that. Or shot dead, simple as that. Whereas now it's just a full-on, full-scale smear campaign. That's the big difference between, the basic difference between then and now. And with Pravda, at the time at the Soviet Union, you didn't have social media. All you had was TV, radio, and the papers. That was all we had. That's the basic viewpoint.
You think, you insinuate, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, that there is more propaganda today than there was, for example, in the 1940s, or am I misconstruing?
I think that is what I'm trying to say, is that in the 1930s and 40s, you didn't have the likes of Facebook, or you didn't have the likes of Daily Chaos or Breitbart or RT. You didn't have any of those. You didn't have InfoWars. Didn't have any of that. In Britain, all we've had was the BBC in the 30s and 40s, and a couple of and radio and a couple of newspapers. You didn't even get ITV until the mid 1950s. So
I think Churchill famously said that we wouldn't have won the war were it not for the BBC propaganda vehicle. I think that he said that. I am paraphrasing, but so it's wider open now. When this web thing came along, I was working as a mainstream media journalist, places like Bloomberg and at the BBC, and I was very, very excited when this web thing came along, because it seemed to me, particularly when there was a capacity for web video. I don't know if you remember web video 20, 25 years ago in these little tiny frames. The bandwidth wasn't as good, obviously, but it was very exciting for anybody that cared about genuine news, or just being able to have a debate and a bit of a chat, because you kind of got the feeling that we were no longer going to be constrained to who MI5 decided that they would employ at the BBC, for example. Which I think is largely one of the reasons that I was recruited at the BBC, by the way, to keep an eye on me and to stop a project that I was doing online, which is not dissimilar to Daily Chaos Today, actually. A bit of an aside there. Daniel, what happened? What happened to the internet? It seems to have become just like a typical high street, just a bunch of franchises, as opposed to mama papa stores.
Well, but I know with business, it used to be your little mom and pop stores. The problem, a lot of it, you could argue, from the 1970s onwards and well into the 80s and 90s, was mass deregulation. It was deregulation of finance, deregulation of the markets. It was mass privatizations, and the argument at the time was, if we privatize it and we allow all that money to trickle down to us, that was supposed to be the aim. But of course, that didn't happen, and a lot of them started monopolizing.
Trickle down economics, you're talking about?
That's what it was meant to be. Trickle down economics. It didn't work out that way. Because a lot of them were able to get their corporate monopolies.
Was that not a big cover, though? Was that? I remember that was Reagan, wasn't it? Trickle down economics. But the reality, the truth of it, was it not just a deceit?
It was Reagan and Thatcher in the 80s that was really associated with privatizations. And you'll notice after the fall of communism in the Soviet Union and all of the Eastern Bloc, even they started their mass privatization programs. And with Eastern Europe, because a lot of them applied to join the European Union, the European Union, although it was not illegal to nationalize, they strongly discourage you from nationalizing industry. Whereas Russia in the 1990s tried to go through that similar route of privatization. Of course, it didn't work out for Russia. And then when Putin took over, saying, no, we're not having you raping and pillaging the Russian economy. Get out of here. And that's hence politically one of the reasons why we're told to hate Russia, just like we did in the Cold War.
So that privatization thing, though, it was a bit like you could buy your council house in the UK, your state place or whatever. You had an option to buy it relatively cheap, which, if you like, pulled you into a good place, potentially. Or you could buy shares in, I don't know, the national telecom company or whatever, the water, the this, that. That at the time, it sounded great. From the point of view of being able to, freedom, if you like. But on the other hand, in the long run, are we actually better off? We seem to be completely screwed now anyway. We're on the verge of this global Ponzi falling apart, which is, I don't know if this is why YouTube decided to ban last week's show, by the way, but Godfrey Bloom pointed out, in his opinion, that the reason that we're in such a state now, this basically sprinting totalitarianism going on across the world, is because they know that they can no longer control this global Ponzi, and it's going to collapse. And they need to try and get us in a position of control before it does collapse, before they stop spinning the plates. My question to you, Daniel, is, well, what do you think of Godfrey's theory? Will you now get me banned? Or, and also, is it not the case that those trickle-down economic theories, just as an aside really, because it's not the main thrust of today's show, actually they failed? And the reality is that we've just seen this pyramid where big businesses buy up everything else, including us, and we're essentially all enslaved to the likes of Amazon now.
Yeah, that is a big problem. I think that's where the trickle economics has actually led to. These big monopolies like YouTube, Facebook, Google. Why are Google still buying out lots of little companies? If Google were to say, right, I'm going to offer you £1 million, we'd like to buy your company, we'll give you 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, I'd say, no thank you, bye, because I want to be independent. I'm independent minded. I've built this up from scratch. I'm not letting scumbags like Sundar Pichai, like the CEO of YouTube, like Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not letting these scumbags take what I've worked hard to build just so they can turn it into their little Stalinist puppet or Ceausescu style Securitate, whatever they want to do with it. Or give it to some fact checker whose chances are paid up by the likes of George Soros or Bill Gates. No thanks. I'll keep it myself, thanks. And you keep your 4 million.
Scumbags, he says. If you want to come on and contest that and tell me why I shouldn't call you a scumbag, Mr. YouTube, Mr. Zuckerzitz, whatever, which I do think you're a scumbag, by the way. I do think you're an evil scumbag. If you want to come on this show and tell me why I've got it all wrong and we should go and have a pint down the pub, you're very welcome. Come on in, reply. Or you could just ban the show, because we're not allowed freedom of expression. Daniel, yes, okay, right. So, what is your take on Godfrey's opinion then last week that was banned? The whole reason for this scamdemic, and I call it a scamdemic, YouTube, because I am on your case, and everybody should be on your case, because free speech is sacred. Yes, important. That's right.
Exactly.
Yes. And so, Daniel, what is your thought on Godfrey's opinion that this is all a cover because the global Ponzi's buggered, and they need to be able to control people for when the real HIT hits the fan?
Well, let's break this. Let's unpack this. Let's break this down. I think Godfrey Bloom's point. If he's getting censored, that shows me that he's right, without even having to listen to a word he said. That shows me he's right. Let's know this. Reason why they're censoring us? It's because we're winning. The cabal, the globalists, the scumbags, the New World Order people, they know they've lost. But they can't admit that because they got to save face for their own people, who are still sheep, who still buy into it. It's just them trying to save face. And they don't want to lose their face. And they know it's coming.
They are, that's very positive. We've got Chris Boozy over in the States, going to get an update here and there from him throughout the show. God bless him for popping on. What's your take on Daniel's hopeful message just there, Boozy?
I have to correct one thing. There is no economic theory of trickle-down economics. There is no policy of trickle-down economics. It doesn't exist within the study of any economic theory whatsoever.
Well, it was basically tax cuts for the higher tax brackets, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Give them more money.
I know what people use it as a paraphrase for.
Yeah.
But the actual term trickle-down economics is a slander term used by the socialists to try and criticize free market economics. But there is free market economics. The whole idea behind free market economics is for the market to self-regulate itself due to pretty much everyone having a fair shake, so that effectively everyone can build their own businesses, and if the business survives, it's a good business. If the business doesn't survive, it's not a good business. And pretty much that the money flow goes to those that earn money rather than those that are being supported by a state conglomerate.
The idea behind it basically was that you'd have a few more quid in your business that you could afford to employ people and create more opportunities that way. That was the official narrative anyway. Look, Boozy, I don't want to get into that anymore though, particularly. Yeah. Do you agree with Dan, Mr. Grant, that, excuse me, they're losing? The cabal, the globalists, they're losing. And that is the reason why they just won't allow even the most fundamental questions about something that we're supposed to trust that we put into our body when it hasn't even got an FDA approval. Only for emergency access, only for emergency reasons. And so they have to keep these lockdowns. And then they give us, and now it's a third booster apparently because the first and the second ones didn't work. I mean, these studies are all out there, all over the place in Israel, University of London or Oxford, London or something. All sorts of stats going out there. Anyway, Boozy, are they desperate or are we absolutely just in the shtick?
I think we have got a level of we have got become too sizable for them to control without a proper type of mass extinction event, much like we saw with the genocide in the 30s.
Oh, I'm definitely going to get banned now. Hold on. YouTube, I apologize. We're now talking about mass extinction events. You've got to ban this video, clearly. We're not allowed to talk about stuff like that, mate. Do you know what I mean? Not allowed to have a chat about
what I'm saying is they would have real trouble doing another 1930s type situation. And
what are you saying? What, take us down the chambers or something? And
yes, they would have trouble doing that, and that's why we are winning. That's why we are winning, because we've become such a sizable group that we cannot just be poo-pooed as crazy conspiracy theorists, because people are starting to go, hang on, that conspiracy theory said X, Y, Z, and X, Y, Z have come to fruition. Yet everything that's been on the BBC or on CNN, that's been disproven. So why am I not listening to that conspiracy theorist? Because he's actually been more correct than the mainstream media.
Okay. Daniel, let me ask you: do you believe? I wonder what level of chaos they want, because what Booz is just saying is they have less control over the narrative now, but they clearly have a lot of control. And hence algorithms, Facebook, whatever. You put a story on Facebook on your timeline with a link to any website which goes against the official narrative, and people do not see that post. They don't see it. If you take the same post, I've done this, by the way. I know that this is absolutely a fact, gospel truth, in my experience at least. If you put the same post on Facebook, and you break up the link, so you've got spaces in the link, so people have to physically put the link back together before they can enter it into a browser and see the page, then it works. It works. I put the same post up with and without link. One of them 0 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments. The other one 50. I mean, it's just like, the difference, it was so obvious on the same day. Is the problem? My question to you, actually, because apparently it is a more frenzied media these days with all of these different outlets. They can't quite control. Do they actually want a certain amount of going against the official narrative? Do they want people confused? Do they care about subduing everybody, or actually do they want chaos? Because they do, and when I ask that question, I put it in a shade of light. That is that, in a way, does it not meet their requirements more that we are confused to hell? And the majority of people at the moment still are conditioned by the likes of the BBC. And I can tell you that because here in Spain, for example, I walk around right by the beach with a fantastic sea breeze, and half the people out there are wearing masks. Daniel?
That's one of the things I see. I could be walking in a wilderness, in say like a park or Taft Trail, no one around. I'm thinking, you do realize you're socially distanced, don't you? But then I can understand if you're genuinely vulnerable and all that. But I just think you're on your own. There's no one there within about 5 meters. You don't need a mask. When I go out walking, I don't wear a mask at all, because I know what the mask does to you. Scientific. The fact that we're being told to wear masks, even though if you look at Fauci's emails, I think they came out in May or June time, he actually said in February 2020, masks don't work. So I got a question for all the viewers out there. Why is it that despite Fauci knowing that masks don't work, why are we all told to wear? Have we been told to wear it for the past 18 months? That's a question to ponder right there. And what was the other part of the question you were asking?
Blimey, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, basically, do they want this confusion? Do they want a certain amount of information that goes against the official narrative allowed, just to confuse people, bearing in mind that the majority of people today, despite all the setbacks with the official narrative one way and another, is still pro-establishment.
I think with the New World Order, they don't want any dissent whatsoever. I've studied the climate change debate, whether it's man-made or natural. I think it's natural myself, because I've studied climate throughout the past 4.5 billion years, basically millions of years before the dinosaurs even evolved, and then millions of years before man evolved. And what I've seen, and the dissent, let's just say the intolerance towards dissent, a dissenting viewpoint on man-made climate change, it makes Joseph Goebbels look like an angel in comparison. It makes Joseph Stalin look like an angel in comparison.
Those are very strong words. Those are very, very strong words. I mean, you say that to most people, and they would go, I mean, I hear why you're saying that. I really do. But I think a lot of people go, my God, I mean, these guys, they were the ultimate in evil. How can you remotely compare them to the Zuckerbergs of today? Mark? Daniel? Dan?
Oh, sorry, how can I compare the likes of Zuckerberg to the likes
with
of
Goebbels?
Stalin?
Yeah.
Or Goebbels?
Yeah.
Well, Goebbels was a propaganda minister who basically was in charge of all the media, and was told by the Nazis, right, this is what we want you to output, and he'll just output it without question. And don't forget, Joseph Goebbels was a Nazi fanatic. Whereas Zuckerberg, on the other hand, his Facebook was invented by... He had help creating it by the CIA, not just students in a university. Let's just say spending a crazy summer of 2004 thinking, what are we going to do? A lot of it was CIA done, and at the same time, I think it was MySpace that was going down the tubes. And there was a documentary called The Facebook Obsession about how Facebook became Facebook. That's a good
Wasn't it CIA? CIA, wasn't it? Set up?
Yep, CIA.
Again, though, it's very hard to know the truth of these things, isn't it? I mean, that's been considered for 15 years. I mean, since Facebook came about, basically. But it's very, very hard to know the absolute truth, isn't it? But what we do know is that they censor whoever they're doing it for. The fact is that they do not allow a balanced debating chamber, which is completely averse to calling themselves a social network, I would have thought. Okay, look, before we carry on with this, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that supported the show last week. buymeacoffee.com/Daily Chaos. And yeah, I know I never used to ask for donations and stuff, but I am now these days. You probably noticed over the last few weeks, for the simple reason that I lost a big gig. A few weeks ago, thanks to this coronavirus situation that we're in. Yeah, I've got a bit of time on my hands. I can spend more time. I can do a show Monday to Friday, but I need to be able to justify it as well. I'm not a greedy person. Yeah, I've over the last 3 shows, I've earned an average of 50 or 60 euros per show. And thank you, everybody, particularly Amanda, Andrew, Leah, Moira, and Pauline. For last week, for their support last week. And thank you, everybody, for your support over the last few weeks. I really appreciate it. If you can afford to chip in a few quid, not a lot, a few quid, that would be brilliant. If I could get 50 quid a day, yeah, I'm not expensive. If I could get 50 quid a day, I would do a show every day, Monday to Friday, that is. If I got 50 quid on the Saturday and Sunday, I'll spend it down the pub. So send that too. Right, please, buymeacoffee.com/Daily Chaos, and I really appreciate that, and will endeavour to, and also support Revolution.radio. Please, people, also go there, check it out, get involved in the chat, just say hi to the folks, listen to some of the shows, and support them. Chuck them a tip too, or instead, if you prefer them, and wakeupuk.net as well. Ditto. Patriots, we've all got to pull together as much as we possibly can, and and that is the problem, is it not, Daniel? Is that we are so divided, ruled, our community. I had Carl Pearson on here, one of the founders of Unity News Network, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about this. The division is so difficult, and we don't have a central platform that we can come together and be joined up.
And that is the pity. And they're knocking us off. Social media. And there are alternative social media platforms out there we can sign up to. Some of you will know. There's
go on.
Gab,
who would you? Yeah, go on. Gab. Yeah.
There's Gab. There's Minds. There's Mayway. That's
Mayway.
for social media. That's like a social media platform. Mayway.com. As for videos,
yeah,
I've used BitChute and Rumble, but I recommend Rumble. If you insist on staying on YouTube, this is what I would do. If you want to do live stream on YouTube, you can do live stream on Rumble. But if you really wanted to stay on YouTube, you could do a live stream on YouTube. 1 day later, pull it off YouTube, put it on Rumble instead, and then do a short, like a trailer, and post a trailer on YouTube with the Rumble link in the video description.
Yeah.
That's how you could do it, and that's a style from Scott McKay of Patriot Street Fighter, who's also on Tipping Point Radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Tipping Point Radio. Tipping Point Radio is you guys, yeah? You've got a show there.
Yep.
Right. And where can people find that? Tipping Point Radio?
I don't know where exactly. The only show I know on Tipping Point Radio is Patriot Street Fighter. They could go onto Rumble, they could type in Patriot Street Fighter.
Right.
And all the videos by Scott McKay. Scott McKay, I think, is really good at what he says, especially when he talks about the cabal, especially the way he talks. He talks just like us.
I will listen to him. Scott McKay.
Yep, Scott McKay, really good.
Brilliant. Right. Daniel, thank you very much indeed. Would you say that we are in a better position to defeat this official narrative, given that we do have some outlets? Or do you think that, no, actually, you know what, everything is stacked way against us, irrespective?
I think we'd be surprised to know that we are in a better position because of the social media and the fact that we can set up alternatives. And they are out there.
But those alternatives that you mentioned, for example, the problem is that nobody that's watching the BBC or CNN or they're not on those networks, and so we're kind of preaching to the choir, singing to the choir a bit.
Yeah, and this is where we can only do so much. This is where the viewers can make a difference. Your viewers can make a difference. Chris Boozy's viewers could make a difference. I could get my friends to make a difference. We can all say, right, my advice is try this social media network. I've signed on to it. I recommend you sign on to it. I'll recommend you follow this video channel on Rumble, for example. So we need to trickle down like that. Tell our friends. So we can only do so much. It's the choir that need to say to people outside that choir to actually do some of the lifting. Because we're going to ask ourselves, all right, it's easy to say, oh, what's Ollie doing? What's the military doing? What are we doing? What's Chris Boozy doing? My question to you is, what are you guys doing also? You got to do some of the lifting as well. That is what will really help us make the difference. It's people power. How do you think the Americans lost in Vietnam to a certain extent? There was the Vietnamese people that the Viet Cong wouldn't give up. In fact, the Americans had to give up and pull out. Why do you think Bashar al-Assad is still standing in Syria? The Syrian people want him. Despite what the likes of the BBC or Fox or CNN or MSNBC, the scumbags, or the clowns over there tell you, most of the Syrian people still want Bashar al-Assad. Because they know under him, all the minorities can still have their say, can still practice their minority religions, even though it's officially an Alawite Muslim, Shia Muslim nation, but most of them are Sunnis, but they can all mix and mingle. Whereas in Saudi Arabia, you cannot deviate from Wahhabism. Or you can't deviate from the CCP's narrative in China. You couldn't do that. You couldn't question the narrative of Pravda in the Soviet Union. In the case of Romania under Ceausescu, you had Service D. In Securitate, it was a Securitate unit specifically targeting people who question the mainstream narrative. And unless we stop these globalists,
we've got something like that in the UK. No, 77 Brigade. No.
Ooh, 77. I've never heard of that one. Please.
Yeah, they're linked with CCHQ in Cheltenham. Kind of like the FBI of the UK sort of thing. Basically listening in on everybody or whatever. And 77 Brigade, they look after. It's part of the army. It's part of the army. And they look after what people are saying and controlling the narrative and all that sort of stuff. Just very briefly, big cheers to Pat Rabbit over on Rev Radio. Scott McKay has his show, The Tipping Point, here at the station. You thickie, Ollie. He didn't say that. Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's Eastern US Eastern, on Studio B. He has much more, but is here once a week. Was his first show, started here. He started, goodness gracious, it's all so incestuous. Scott McKay is on Rev Radio. God bless him. Fantastic. Oh, I'll definitely listen to that. Big cheers, Pat Rabbit. Pat Rabbit's on after me. I really like listening to Patrick after my show on Revolution Radio because he's got the most beautiful voice. He speaks so calmly, so eloquently and calmly with a beautiful US Southern accent. But you know that thing, Dan, ASMR, asymmetric whatnot, give you tingles on the back of your head or something. Pat Rabbit is the best bloke talking about awful stuff that actually makes you feel so relaxed despite the fact that it's awful because of the way he delivers it. God bless you, Pat Rabbit. Right, yes, so yeah, oh dear. Okay, communism before the Iron Curtain fell, as opposed to the totalitarian model of, if you like, China model of communism, which it seems to me isn't traditional communism at all, Daniel. These two things, it looks like they're going to be rather different. One of them, they're trying to lay out this global thing, this great reset or whatever. How would you compare this, if you like, China model of communism to what the likes of the Slovak states or whatever lived under behind the Iron Curtain.
Difference is, behind the Iron Curtain, at least you knew what you were getting. You knew what you were getting, and it was classic communism. That was it. It was classic communism. Government owned everything. You stepped out of line, you were sent to a gulag faster than you can say your own name. That's the basis of it. And then who broke that mold in the Soviet Union? Mikhail Gorbachev, when he was General Secretary. He goes, well, hang on, this isn't working out anymore. We got to change it. We got to change, and we got to change now. And hence the glasnost and the perestroika. Glasnost basically opening up, restructuring, opening up the economy.
In Poland. Yeah.
Yep, Poland the same. Poland, Hungary, they followed on. But
East Germany.
East Germany, not so much. East Germany, especially under Honecker, he wanted to preserve the Stalinism. Same with Todor in Bulgaria, even though this Todor, it took a coup to oust him on the 10th of November 1989, one day after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Whereas Nicolae Ceausescu, let's just say it took a violent revolution to oust him. And this is where the Romanian Revolution, good example of we the people fighting back.
They ousted his neck, didn't they? And that
they didn't just shoot him. What they did was, if you consider the rally that Ceausescu gave in Bucharest, his last rally, he tried to get 100,000 supporters there, thinking they were all going to wave a flag for him, support him as per usual, as they've done for the preceding 24 years. And then when one of them chanted Timișoara, being the city where the Romanian Revolution started, a lot of people in the crowd looked and thinking, oh my word, that guy's dead meat. They're dead meat. They're going in a can. They're going straight in a slammer. But then when another one chanted Timișoara, and then that energy field, that built up so much, Ceausescu couldn't deal with it. And you'll remember the famous clip where he just went, where he stood and went, oh dear, they're onto me. Right, leg it. And then basically he and his wife ran to the helicopter and basically, I don't care if you've been with me for the past 24 years. Kicked his mates, even his own mates been with him for 24 years, off a helicopter. No, it's every man for himself.
It was entertaining.
Every man for himself.
It was entertaining. So this new commie thing they want to bring in. I mean, it sounds communist when you've got the World Economic Forum saying in their manifesto, which promotes the Great Reset. You can see it on Google. Hey, YouTube, go to Google, do your own bloody search engine, Google it, and put in World Economic Forum Great Reset. Yeah? Oh, we allowed to ask questions about, it's the top result on Google, you morons! Right, okay. So, I don't know if we're going to get banned because we're asking about one of their manifesto pledges is by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That is the essence of communism, isn't it?
It is. It's exactly that, but worse. What's going to be worse is when it's not going to be owning nothing. It's going to be a case of them owning all of us. It's going to be a complete social credit score. I know the British government will say it's a vaccine passport about safety, and it's not about safety. What it's really about is a social credit score where if you do something like jaywalking or listen to Daily Chaos, oh no, your credit gets turned off straight away forever. But
that's what they do in China already, isn't it? Yeah. Social credit. They've already got that. And the British government now, Bojo, Marxist Bojo, who would have thought it? I mean, I know he looks like a blonde version of, what's his name in North Korea. But nonetheless, Bunter boy, who would have thought that he turned out to be a total bloody Marxist? He is bringing in a social credit score in the UK, no? Done?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a social credit score.
But this is aside from the vaccine passport thing. That's another bit of tyranny there.
That's what this too, is. Hey? That's what the vaccine passport is. It's the social credit score.
But no, there is also another load of this. The passport is only one part of it. You know that they are looking to introduce specifically a social credit score in the UK where the state will monitor everything that you do, even the vegetables that you buy, and decide whether or not you're a worthy citizen. Are you aware of this?
I'm not aware of it, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
They are trying to put this through Parliament now.
Yeah, even though Parliament's on recess, because they know that the Libertarians. And someone's saying, where are the Libertarians in the Conservative Party? Where's David Davis, who's in Big Brother Watch? Where's the likes of John Redwood?
Yeah, what happened to the European Research Group people that apparently were so Brexiteering? And then we didn't get Brexit, and they've all shut up. They're all useless. Absolutely useless. Bored.
That's because a lot of the Conservatives, they don't want to be seen as the nasty party. It was the same under David Cameron.
Yeah, but what's nasty? What's nasty about defending people's freedoms? About saying, you know what, this thing hasn't been tested for long enough. I don't know, that maybe you should think about it. Think twice. Maybe you should be hearing the other side of the argument, not just the official, but all those scientists that, for example, are saying, they haven't told you the truth. And that have caught people out lying, perjuring themselves before the Senate. People like Fauci. And yet, oh no, YouTube, oh, you can't question that, oh no. That's what I say to you.
As Churchill put it.
That wasn't very good for radio, that V sign, but that's what YouTube just got from me. You know what? Let's get on to the fact checkers. Dan, I want to ask you about the fact checkers. Who are these so-called fact checkers that work at the likes of Fastbook and fraud?
Well, let's just say the likes of the fact checkers, some of them, let's just say that one fact checker that I know of a little bit, one of the fact checkers actually worked in the Wuhan lab, which is why anything about the origins of COVID-19, if you say that it comes from the Wuhan lab, oh no, we're not having that, because you're questioning the CCP. Remember, the likes of Facebook, Google, they've been spending, they want to make money in China because they know they've got the biggest population on the planet. But to do that, you cannot just set up shop in China. You cannot do that. To set up shop in China, you have to have a member of the CCP as a co-owner to own all your business in China. You have to have a member of the Chinese Communist Party also as a board member of your company as well, and a Chinese national co-owner. So you have two people to co-own it with you, just so you can set up shop in China. And a lot of these naive people at Google and Facebook think, some of these big CEOs like Nike, they all seem to think, oh, we got this big population, they'll buy all our stuff, we don't have to pay any next to zero taxes. All this money we make in China, we can take it all home. That's what they think. Newsflash. But as long as the Chinese Communist Party are in power, they can dream on, because wherever money you make in China stays in China, period. Wherever money you make in China stays in China. You're not allowed to take it out. And as for some of the fact checkers, some of them got funding from George Soros for many years. Some of them, in relation to a lockdown, get funding from Bill Gates. Even some of the scientists, or I should say, sage people in the UK, like Chris Whitty, Patrick Vallance, they've been bought by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Do you know that for a fact that they're on the payroll?
Oh yeah, exactly. I thought it sounded ridiculous.
We're probably going to get banned again now. I don't know how many reasons YouTube need to ban us, but that's probably another one. I suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect.
YouTube, there's actually UK Vaccine Network members and the grants that they've actually had. And the British government, almost all of their institutions are actually, they've actually had some funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And
they fund newspapers as well, like The Guardian in the UK.
And that's why,
Melinda Gates,
speaking of The Guardian,
whatever.
that's why.
I don't know if they're still going, actually. They might have split it up because they got divorced or something, because he was hanging out with a child slave trafficker. But hey, that's fine. Oh no! Can't say that! Can't say that! Ban! Right. Yeah, Boozy, has China got the states by the balls now. Then they got their man in the White House, didn't they?
Yeah, they got their man in the White House. However, things are not going well for the ruling party in the UK, in the US.
Well, the Dems.
Well, you've just had a potential future presidential candidate, the governor of New York, had to resign.
Cuomo. He's quit now, has he?
Due to sexually abusing 11 different women.
No. Hold on. Surely it was because he infected nursing homes with elderly people who had the flu or whatever it was from hospital. Took him to the nursing homes. Everybody in the nursing homes died, apart from the cat. The cat keep the mice at bay. Everybody else died, apart from maybe some of them did. He hasn't been taking the task over that, has he? The fact that he's involved in manslaughter on a mass scale.
Ollie, this is the interesting thing. Because he resigned, they're now trying to say he can't be impeached because he was out of office. And the Republicans in
what did they do with Trump?
No. Can I actually finish my line, because I'll probably answer your question.
Go on, mate. Go on.
Yeah. So the Republicans in the New York Assembly have actually drafted the impeachment paperwork, because on the grounds that they're saying that Trump was impeached when he was out of office, therefore impeachment goes for out of office holders. But included in the impeachment paperwork is the nursing homes. So they're not only going after saying that he should be impeached for sexual harassment of 11 different females. Yeah. They're actually saying he should be impeached for multiple counts of second-degree murder. Wow.
Wow, that is quite something.
And then you've got the governor of California is facing recall. You've got them starting to admit that Biden's not all there. You've got him having made a statement recently where he's gone. The Supreme Court made a ruling, and he's gone completely against the Supreme Court ruling.
Right.
And basically done an equivalent of Andrew Jackson and said, effectively saying, let the Supreme Court send its army to enforce its ruling. We're going to do it anyway, which is now got people hammering for an impeachment of Biden for going against the Supreme Court.
Wow.
While the impeachment probably won't go anywhere because of
because the justice system is corrupt.
That will help with the midterms, because it will be seen that justice hasn't been done. But so who cares? The old midterms, 2024. You know what? The fact is, what Dominion? I know 2022, and then there's an election in 2024 as well, which is the next presidential election. What's the point of any of them when we've got such corrupted political? Look, Boozy, hang in there. I've only got another minute or so with my guest. God bless you, Dan. Thank you so much for popping on today. Tell us, where can people get your books?
Well, at the moment, they can get them on Amazon or Kobo. I'm trying to branch out to more platforms, because I know there's some people that don't like Amazon.
Kobo? No, Amazon is evil. Kobo? Where's that? Kobo?
Kobo, KOBO.com. At the moment, they're only ebooks.
Right. And if they just put in Dan Grant at KOBO.com, then they can find your books, which have got all sorts of very impressive intellectual titles. Give us one.
Fascism and Communism are two sides of the same coin, part 1. I'm doing a part 2, because there's so much to cover. And one of the topics I've wanted to cover, and I'm glad Chris Boozy brought up about Cuomo and Newsom getting the axe potentially.
Yeah, well, Newsom we don't know yet, but I'm going to ask Boozy more about that in the second half. Yeah, Carry on, please.
Just you wait to see what's going on with the audits and Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium.
Yeah.
Wait, what's going on there? And you'll see about the voter fraud by the Democrats.
Something's happened to him today. Something's happened to Mike Lindell today. I think he was attacked in his hotel or something. I saw a comment from Downliner, Jay, bless him, over on something or other. Anyway, right, we're coming up to a break. I've got David Vance who's popped in for the next hour. Last question to you, Dan, please. Fascism and communism are the same thing, halves of the same coin, you say in your book title. Basically. Is it not the case that where we're going, very briefly, is global communism for the plebs run by fascists?
Yeah, pretty much so. Pretty much as simple. I couldn't have put it simpler myself, unless we stand up and say, no, you lot can go to hell, because we are not having this, and we are going to fight you. Just you wait. What I would watch out for the audits in the individual states in America right now, which is going to prove the election fraud, and also watch out for John Durham and the sealed indictments. Yeah, but John Durham, he hasn't gone anywhere. He should have released all that stuff during Trump's presidency, no? I think he should have, but I think John Durham is the one to read. If I was a deep stater, I would be on the toilet 24/7, worrying about what John Durham's going to do. Yeah. That's what I'd be thinking. I hope that they fall in and somebody flushes them away. Which is why, with the propaganda thing, they're going to try and do a blackout. Yeah. Dan Grant, God bless you, mate. Thank you so much. Kobe.com, Dan Grant, and go and check out his books there. And we've got David Vance, who's popped in for the second half. David, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sir, you're lovely Irish brogue, and I've got your picture too. Thank you very much indeed. So he's coming up in the second half, people. Want to say a big cheers to Revolution Radio, revolution.radio, wakeupuk.net. That's where we're going out today, as well as, unless they've pulled the stream already, at youtube.com/Daily Chaos. You are watching Daily Chaos. I'm Ollie Connolly. This is always the time, every week, Thursdays, just not necessarily at YouTube, because living on borrowed time there, but good to see you about. Please share the thing, all the rest of it. 2-3 minutes now, commercial break, time to take a pee, etc. See you in the second half. All right.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Management would like to take a moment to thank the listeners and hosts for all their support that has made Revolution Radio one of the biggest platforms for free speech in an ever-growing dark world of censorship. Unfortunately, this platform for free speech has never been free. We need the support of the people. It is the people like you, yes, you, that keeps the station in the front lines of the battle against tyranny and oppression. Please help support Revolution Radio so free speech will not be silenced in a world that seems to be going deaf to the real truth. With your support, we will be able to become an even bigger pillar of light in a dark world.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Revolution Radio.
What the heck is the Truth Jihad? Hey, I'm Kevin Barrett, host of Truth Jihad Radio. Federal prosecutors, Department of Homeland Security agents, and curious passersby often ask me, just what is this Truth Jihad thing anyway? Well, everybody knows what truth is, but jihad is a misunderstood term. Jihad means effort or struggle. The greater jihad is the struggle to be a better person, while the lesser jihad is the struggle to defend the community. Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, did say that the best jihad is a word of truth flung in the face of a tyrant. And that's what we do here at Truth Jihad Radio. Every Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific, right here on Revolution Radio.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers,
I'm declaring jihad on YouTube. Bugger 'em.
or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Hey guys, Scorpio here. Join me every Saturday at 2 p.m. here on Studio A for the Scorpio Conspiracy Show, where we discuss the hidden agendas that impact our lives and uncover the secret societies and the shadowy elite who construct the reality that we are supposed to believe. So be there Saturdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, here on Studio A on Revolution Radio, and learn what's really going down.
Lost a little honey on the lone highway, left me for another on the lone highway. They killed Dirty John McGee on the lone highway.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates.
Quite right.
Listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Oh, hold it. What's that? Okay, welcome to the second half of Daily Chaos. I'm Ollie Connolly. Thanks for turning up. My special guest in the first half was Dan Grant. God bless you. Thank you very much indeed, Dan, for popping in and telling us, giving your take on where we are now in the communist timetable or what have you. And now we have David Vance popped on. God bless you, David. Thank you very much indeed. Old-time friend of the show. How are you, sir?
I'm extremely well, all things considered, and it's really nice to be back on the show, Ollie, and I hope this finds you as well as can be also.
Oh, thank you. Yes, indeed. Yeah, very, very well. And we've also got Chris Boozy, who's in the States, who's going to pop in here and there in a bit. We're going to ask him about Gavin Newsom and what's going on with that recall in California. Very interesting. And Cuomo as well. David Vance, this show is hot off the heels of last week's, which was banned from YouTube because YouTube deigned not to like the opinions on this, apparently a vaccine that doesn't even vaccinate, from Godfrey Bloom and Robin Tilbrook. What is the state now of free speech, or lack of, on the likes of YouTube? I know that you broadcast a lot. What's your take on this, please, sir?
Well, for quite a while, it's become apparent to me, Ollie, that if you take Silicon Valley itself, and let's include them all, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, all three of the big giants. I mean, these companies are monsters, in my view. They are it's a toss-up between them and the Chinese Communist Party as to what constitutes the biggest threat to our freedoms and liberties. And I mean, it's laughable. You take YouTube. I mean, I've also had strikes from YouTube, most latterly because I dared to I quoted, Ollie, the stats directly verbatim from the British yellow card system. That was considered in the wonderful world of YouTube. That's, oh my God, it's medical misinformation.
Yeah, medical misinformation.
You absolute pros at YouTube. So the trouble is that we can't actually have frank conversations any longer on certain topics and certain platforms, and that is just the way it is, and it's such a shame that these platforms, which once upon a time, Ollie, were all about, they I think was it Twitter claimed itself, it was the party of free speech. Do you remember that way back in the day? And of course, they're anything but. So it's what I mean, there's an old expression, what would you expect from a pig but a grunt? So what would you expect from YouTube but censorship on particular topics? So, for example, we know what they are. So my view is that what we need to do, those of us who seek to get information out there, is we need to find as many channels as possible to put information out on, to fight the information war on. We should use YouTube and the other Silicon Valley tyrannies for what they're worth, but ultimately be under no illusion, we will ultimately be all banished from them because they don't want us.
Is there not a problem here, though? Because if these guys are in hock with the great resetters, the World Economic Forum and what have you, which apparently they are, then, and they're kicking us off or what have you, and we're being herded into basically singing to the choir at places like BitChute or what have you, we are not expanding the choir then.
No, but yeah, I understand that, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, they are placing us in digital gulags. That's exactly what they're doing. The thing about the choir, though, the assumption is that there's a choir of balanced people out there on YouTube, for example, and once we put our points of view to them, they may be swayed. I'm increasingly unsure about that, just like I'm unsure that, does Twitter represent humanity? Is it a cross-section of humanity, or is it a cesspit full of woke trolls? I mean, you can choose your money, take your money and make your choice. But so I know I understand the point you're making, Ollie, and I think the plan from these guys who are doing exactly what you say, they're in lockstep with the globalists that are driving the insanity that's unfortunately destroying the world at the moment.
Well, David, my concern essentially is that we are being taken down a road blindfold, Pied Pipered by the likes of Boris Johnson and Joe Biden to this new world order that they now have rebranded as the Great Reset. And they've told us all about it. They've told us, Commie Central and all the rest of it. It's what we're going for. China model, essentially. We're now seeing things like this social credit system being brought into the UK, another Chinese, method of control, and indeed in the US as well. Looking at rolling out this social credit type thing where the government will decide how worthy you are as a citizen based on the vegetables that you've got in your shopping basket, for example. Or if you listen to the Daily Chaos. So we're being heralded, but we've got no debate about it. And so my concern is that if we now are being herded into these, brilliant phrase, by the way, digital gulags, then there will be no debate. There will never be a mandate, and we will absolutely see abject tyranny and totalitarianism as a result.
Well, I mean, it is totalitarianism that we are now beginning to live under. And if you look around the world, Ollie, if you look down to Australia, you can see, I mean, it's basically gone full fascist. New Zealand, pretty similar. We see
they've closed all the borders for the rest of the year in New Zealand.
Yeah. Because as we all know, this is little, if anything, to do with the virus and everything to do with political control. So one of the ways that you assert political control, as you know, is you close down or you marginalize dissenting voices as the first step, and then you deal with them a bit more robustly, and that will come in due course, I'm sure. But so you're right. I mean, we are being taken off the town square. But that said, I've been saying this for about a year and a half or so. I feel like it's pretty much we're living in like occupied France 1940. We're behind enemy lines, and we just have to recognize that. And no one's coming to save us but ourselves this time round. So we have to find ways to do it. So putting a lot of confidence in the main channels, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the YouTubes, to me is probably misguided or overly optimistic. So there's other channels, we have got the Telegrams of this world. We have got the ability to podcast across the world. We do have other platforms that they've not been quite able to limit yet. So I think we should use those, Ollie, as best we can. And the other thing that can't stop us doing is talking to people, people we meet in the street, people, friends, neighbors, whatever. So there is ways.
They've been doing a damn good job at it, though. What with masks, social distancing, not being able to go to pubs or whatever. They've been doing a damn good job at keeping us from.
Because they know, as we know, that, for example, revolutions have been plotted in pubs, aka
coffee shops,
for example,
tea shops.
United States. Yeah, so that, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. So they've done everything possible, and it is a horrific situation we find ourselves in. I never believed, even I think the last time you and I spoke, that we could have gotten to the position where basically we do have, in the form of Johnson and his junta, a CCP regime governing us. And if that wasn't bad enough, we've got it in France, we've got it in Canada, we've got it with Biden in the States, we've got it pretty much around the world, with a couple of countries that are a little bit outriders. But so it's the biggest threat in recorded history to liberty and freedom. And as part of that, Ollie, the communication channels which we're talking about, they are being manipulated, muted, controlled. We're being erased, taken down. That's all part of what happens, when you have this creeping totalitarianism and authoritarianism. These are all predictable stamps. Of course, the scary thing is, where does it end? Because we know from history, it just doesn't end, Ollie, with censoring people,
Okay, we're coming on to that in just a couple of minutes. I just want to clarify with you, because the comms are so important. Who are you personally using at the moment? What, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey? Anybody that you would particularly recommend, particularly for lives, by the way?
Yeah, so I actually live stream onto brand new Tube, which
brand new
allows
Tube.
Yeah. I mean, to give you an example, on that channel, which is pretty much uncensored, I only joined it in April, and I've clocked up 500,000 views between April and now. So, it's and it does allow live streaming. So you can live stream to it. You can stream to Odyssey. I stream to Odyssey.
Yeah.
I hope to stream to Rumble shortly. So I've got multiple channels where I can live stream. And, I think as more and more people are pushed off the mainstream platforms, some of them people like us will bring audiences that we previously had on these Silicon Valley platforms onto the new platforms. And it's the same with, for example, there's other platforms. There's the broadcasting platforms, but there's the social media platforms. There is the new Getter channel, which I'm on.
Yes, Getter, GETR.
Yeah, you can find me on Getter. We need more Brits on Getter. It's very American at the moment. Unfortunately, one of the problems with British people is they seem bloody obsessed about, we got to be on Twitter and Facebook. There's a whole world outside of those, channels. So, so I'm on Parler as well. And Gab's another one. So, Ollie, I've tried to, since my banishment for being wicked from Twitter, I've just simply gone into as many other platforms as possible. And, one of the things you find is there's a certain snobbishness that people think, YouTube, for example, it's a super duper channel and nothing's ever going to be as good as it. But the real value of for me, a channel, it's not how the technical efficacy of it and how smooth it operates, etc. It's can you connect to decent people or not? And I found that on these other platforms I've just mentioned, there's loads of decent people like us, people who have been, for whatever reason, they've been censored, they've been taken down, they've maybe been banished, they've been thrown off, and so we are gathering in these spaces, and unity, bringing groups of like-minded people together is a good thing. And if you can't do it on YouTube, or you can't do it on Twitter or Facebook, find other ways to do it. And I think that's part of the battle that lies ahead. We all have to sort of send out messages to each other of support and solidarity, because they want to divide us, as you said earlier. They want to shut us off. They want to stop us talking to each other. And that's why that's the thing we must absolutely do. So that's why I commend, what you do here, Ollie, and all the other people trying to do this thing. We are the resistance. And remember, back in the Second World War, at the end of the day, it didn't work out too bad. It didn't work out well for the people that were opposing the tyranny back then. So let's hope we get to see Nuremberg Part 2, but I'm sure we can discuss that.
Oh, mate. Okay, well, this is a question for later. I'm going to take some comments now, but I would ask the question, but did we? It's not even a question, actually. We didn't defeat fascism. I'm sure. Comment: as bad as Louisiana can be sometimes, I have yet to have anyone in this town ask me to put a mask on. That's over on Revolution Radio. And comment also says, even though there may be a sign on the door, no one cares. Yeah, Pat Rabbit, that's the problem. When the expression becomes less than respectful. Let's have a look and see what some of the comments are over on YouTube. Pauline Davis, don't forget, they are going to take our houses off us via the banks. If you have a mortgage, everyone will be allocated a space in the house. And when you're not there, someone else uses it. Pauline, I don't know the truth of that. I just know that the likes of Boris Johnson sports the logo of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset on his lapel. And yet, apparently we're not allowed to ask the question, yet they want to take us into communism without getting banned on YouTube. But yeah, it'd be lovely to be able to have the debate. Celtic Vixen, smartphones are spying on us. The downliner, how come the stream on YouTube is showing it started 2 minutes ago? I've got no idea. They also reckon that I've got 20 people watching and what have you. If that's true, my goodness gracious, come on people, share the show. Yeah, share. Shan Tiggs says that goes for all leaders and governments right now, all complicit in genocide, and our beloved medical people. Sorry, but that's the truth. Speak out or face the consequences. Harsh words from Shan, David. I wanted to ask you about the doomsday clock, and if doomsday equates to totalitarianism, where are we on that clock?
I think we're potentially 1 minute past midnight on it. I think, it's like for a long time I've sort of felt that, for example, World War III has been fought and lost. We've lost World War III. We've lost it to China, but just no one talks about it because they fought it without using overt militarism. But economically and so many other ways. And so now we're into the next phase. And the next phase is the rest of us, our countries, are being brought to heel. We were brought to heel by a virus that came from China, from Wuhan. We've been brought to heel then by policies that our so-called governments have enacted, Ollie, which emulate everything, as you rightly said earlier, that the Chinese people suffer under the CCP. Yeah. So I think we've actually gone past the midnight. It's no use saying, oh, we're 1 minute to it. No, we're in the middle of it now, folks. That's what the terrible reality to face up to. And, we can see that the medical apartheid is being gleefully introduced, and people that are unvaccinated are being talked about, essentially, wear your yellow star. If you're unvaccinated, you're filthy and dirty and disgusting, all the stuff. And it's, honestly, history repeats itself. They say, what is it? First is tragedy and second is farce. But in this case, first is tragedy and second is double tragedy, because this time it's not just the Jews and the homosexuals and the Romanis that the Germans focused on. It's across the world, and it's many millions of us are in the spotlight. So yeah, it's extremely disturbing, and as I say, it's foolish if you think that this one is just going to somehow go away. For me, the biggest disappointment is the British people. What a pathetic bunch of whinging.
Let me ask you about that specifically. If you look at the mainstream media, you would think that the British public, by and large, were backing Boris over his handling of this coronavirus crisis, which I find unbelievable. How much of that support is genuine, in your opinion?
Well, I think everything we read about in the press is obviously not to be trusted, and you can't believe any statistics they pump out. But just from my own eyes, from my own, and sort of going around in shops and places like that, there you see the people gleefully wearing their masks. You see them adhering to the rituals of COVID with delight. And and obviously,
what percentage? What sort of percentage, David? More or less.
Listen, like 90%. Let's just call it.
Really?
Where I live, 90%. Yeah.
90% of people, in your opinion, around your way, are completely booked, hooked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are. And I wish I could tell you something more positive.
I know,
but
you do.
That's what it is. And so, like, from day one, I mean, I've never worn a mask. I'm not going to go along with what they say. But it is a bit scary to be in a position where, well, at least 90% of your fellow citizens seem to think that, they're happy with all the rituals and the restrictions. And I think that certainly where I live, I think if the local, we have a devolved assembly where I live, if they were to say, okay, from tomorrow it's optional now, you don't have to wear a mask, half of them would continue to wear the mask anyway, because they like it. This is a deep societal issue. Unfortunately, we've got a generation and maybe a couple of generations who just want to submit, Ollie, to the greater power. And in this case, it's the Johnson junta. They want to submit to that, and they can show their submission in their masks, in their compliance, in their daubing in their neighbours. I've seen all kinds of horrific stuff going on. The UK promised so much back in June 2016 when we voted to leave the European Union, but unfortunately, in the aftermath of that, what we've done is we joined the Chinese Communist Party. So I'm not really particularly happy about it, and I blame my fellow citizens, those who just, unfortunately, Ollie, they consume the BBC, Sky, all of that, Channel 4. They read the popular press, and the British government's genius was to buy off the British media. And therefore, the more people consume the British media, the more they will follow the diktat. And that's where we are. That's why we are where we are. It's because of people, 24/7 propaganda. It's cost, 300 million in advertising in the past year from the government to the ad agencies into the media. So the media have been bought hook, line and sinker, all of them, all shills, all absolutely leading people, well, I was going to say down a blind alley, but more along a production line to the slaughterhouse. But what can you do?
I should have pointed out that David is based in Northern Ireland, with all the ramifications and all the questions that go with that. And I will ask him about his take on Brexit in a little while. But before we go down that line, David, I know you're not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, neither am I, but there does seem to be an element of people enjoying, I don't know if there's some sort of sadomasochistic thing or whatever, they seem to be enjoying some of this, the restrictions imposed on them. What is your take on that?
Well, yeah, I think there's a correlation between people who voted to remain, in the EU, and people who seem to be unnaturally dedicated to their mixed submission to the COVID restrictions, to the COVID rituals. There's definitely something there. And as you say, we're not psychologists. We're not in a position to say, other than to observe the fact that there's a definite strand of our fellow citizens who I would never have guessed it, Ollie, but they like they like wearing masks. Maybe that's because, if we're talking together, or if I'm doing a video thing, people can see me, they see my face, they see my emotions, my reactions, all that stuff. However, if you can't see someone's face, then you don't really know exactly where you are with them. And some of them love it. They love that. Some of them also love the faux moral superiority it seems to give them. They think that they're so much more virtuous than us unclean people because they wear a tatty little face mask, which does nothing, as we all know, to stop the virus either coming in or going out.
The rest of us are deplorable. Yeah. Deplorable.
We're deplorable. Well, you see, we are deplorable, but I think there's a current move that ultimately just calling us deplorable won't be enough. Just punishing us, by, for example, stopping us of an access to restaurants and pubs and places like that, that won't be enough. This one's going into a dark place over the next 6-12 months is what I think. So it's a serious issue. And yet so many people don't see it, Ollie. They just think, just another, 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Here we are, 16 months later, and they don't see that this could be a bit of a problem we've gotten into.
I've got so many questions off the back of that as well. But before we get onto those, I want to ask Boozy to pipe up, bless him, in California. He's probably fallen asleep on his seat there or whatever. Boozy, do you get this? Do you get people walking around with their masks, looking sort of, in my eyes at least, demented, a bit like those characters in The Purge going around, shooting people, except instead of shooting people, they're just looking at people with these kind of, evil stare eyes, kind of things, going, oh, you're not wearing your mask, what is that? What is going on, Boozy?
They're especially as I'm in California. Yes, there's a lot of mask that.
It was a pointless question. He's in California. It was a ridiculous question. But Boozy, your audio, go on.
Pressure to take the have one of these vaccines. Scrambling because the Mayo Clinic has. Yeah, but the Mayo Clinic has come out with a study that says that the only FDA-approved vaccine, which is the Pfizer one, has a 42% efficacy. Just 42%.
How do they call it? How do they get away with calling it a vaccine?
Vaccines don't work.
It's not a vaccine,
vaccines
is
don't
it?
work. The market work. And what you are seeing now, though, is a big push from people here who are just going, you know what? Mm-hmm. It's clearly, this is clearly a load of rubbish. And you have now got some people that are pretty much standing up to it. Bear in mind, in California, you also have a big movement for anti-vaxxers. So you actually have people who are against getting any vaccines. Yeah. And then you have the Christian right who oppose having vaccines due to the fact that they're made from aborted fetal cells. So they oppose having a vaccine on religious grounds because they're not going to have dead baby parts put in them. Yeah. So you've got that kind of attitude here. So you have got a fairly strong resistance, and it does tie in with all the recall that's happening because the lead candidate to replace the governor is saying that he will, day one, cancel all the mask and vaccine mandates for state institutions and for the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very briefly.
At the moment, my college, I can't go to my college campus. They've instigated a vaccine mandate.
Boozy, very, very briefly, Gavin Newsom is the absolute total 100% libtard governor in California. He is being recalled. What exactly is going on? Is there a possibility that there could now be a conservative governor, small c conservative?
Yes, there is actually a real possibility, because to recall the governor, you need 50 plus one.
Right.
And with special elections like this, there is an overwhelming swing to Republican and independent voters over Democrat voters. Democrat voters don't tend to turn out for special elections.
Right.
So there's an apathy there.
Okay.
And
well, look,
we are working on that. And then when it comes to the person who replaces, Gavin Newsom is not on the ballot. Once he's free, if they say no to they say we want to recall him,
right,
he's not even an option. So
okay.
It then goes on a plurality.
When will we have an answer?
The person who gets the most votes.
When
So
will we
20-something%.
have an answer as to whether or not California is beginning to redeem itself, or it's just completely gone down the shithole?
September 14th.
September 14th.
The
Boozy,
ballots are starting to hit the floor at the moment.
Boozy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please come back with more. I've got a definition of vaccine here, people. David Vance. A substance made from the germs that cause a disease, which is given to people to prevent them getting the disease. Now, for a start, for one thing, nobody has proven that the COVID-19 has been isolated, and therefore how they get the germs that cause COVID-19 on that basis is debatable. And even if they do, it's not preventing them from getting something or other anyway, apparently, because people are still coming up, off the back of their dubious PCR tests, being told you've got this coronavirus or what have you. David, I mean, the whole oh my God, I'll tell you what, you mentioned satire or farce or what have you. I mean, it's absolutely gone crazy. And yet, so there are legitimate questions, is my point, YouTube. And yet, on the other hand, and I want to hear what you have to say about this kind of response from Boris Johnson, who called people who do not want to take this particular vaccine that doesn't vaccinate nuts. He's calling us nuts, going on telly and calling us nuts. And Joe Biden, on the other hand, says that we lack intelligence. What are your thoughts on the political rhetoric surrounding the drive to get everybody vaccinated with drugs that aren't properly tested, David?
Well, it's been farcical from the very start. Actually, if we think about this, from the very beginning, as you say, I think there are legitimate questions people can have concerning what I call the COVID treatments. I know the media, in their sloppy language and big pharma, they call them vaccines, but they're certainly not traditional vaccines, as you've just explained, Ollie. So they are experimental treatments. Oh, and I know at the moment, even to say that is controversial, but they are certainly novel treatments. Let's put it like that. Yeah. Novel treatments with no medium to long-term evidence as to the side effects. So we don't know that. So Boris Johnson is wanting to essentially have every man, woman and child in England and the rest of the UK take a treatment, and without any knowledge of what that could mean in the next couple of years. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, rightly, again, as you point out, I haven't seen anything that says that the SARS-CoV-2 gene sequence has been isolated. I've not seen that. If anyone has it, please share it. But I don't think it is. I think what I did hear was one of the big pharmaceutical companies saying, yeah, they've been able to work on their treatment for SARS-CoV-2 because China had sent them the gene sequence. All right, China had sent them the gene sequence. All right, and their algorithms that then produced the vaccine. So we have a very amorphous. We have an amorphous disease, a treatment which is extremely questionable. No medium to long term results, as we know, and we have a PCR test which is being used against the wishes of the creator, Carrie Mullins. We all know that. And so the whole thing, it's almost as if you were putting in place a system, a process that gets you the desired result, namely a frightened population, and then you have the answer just waiting for them. Take this in your arm, not once, twice, 3 times. And Chris just mentioned, by the way, the Mayo Clinic, which I've also followed. The Mayo Clinic, which has come out and said the Pfizer vaccine is 42%. Now, the efficacy is down from 42. Now, initially I thought, oh, this is good because this shows that even the Mayo Clinic's asking questions. But I don't think so, because what the Mayo Clinic is then saying, oh, right, you see, it started at 97 or, maybe it was 101% efficacy. It started that really high back in January. Now it's down to 42%. So you might need to get your booster, get your 3rd jab, take another shot in the arm. And this is how malevolent it is. literally everything they say, we must question and push back against. Because when I heard that from the Mayo Clinic, as Chris had said, it sounded like, oh, this is interesting. And then you read more and you think, really all they're doing is they're hustling, Ollie, to get even more jabs into British people. Britain's become a pincushion. You know, get your first jab, get your second jab, get your booster jab, get your flu jab, jab. And the only people that benefit, as far as I can see, is the pharmaceutical companies who are rolling in cash as a consequence of this, and the politicians who are rolling in arrogance and power, and who, you know, power is not given up once it's been given easily. And that's why we're in the battle of our lives. We got to wrest the power back from these people. And I commend the French, by the way. The French are actually doing what Brits should be doing. The French are rising up on the streets. They're really challenging Macron. And I say, vive la France. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not going to go down silently. Unlike the Brits, who seem to think, well, as long as we get to the footy, does it matter if we get 2 jabs? Seriously? Are people that weak? I don't know. They weren't back in 2016, Ollie. They are not. They seem to be now. And maybe that's because of the fact that Johnson has subjected them to so much propaganda via the media. And that seems, the behavioral scientists, you know, the people who do deserve to be in the dock for Nuremberg too, they have, you know, they've succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, I think, in conditioning people to accept a tissue of lies from start to finish, and all points in between. Even right now, as we're talking right now, August 2021, they're trying to pretend there's a third wave of COVID in the Northern Hemisphere summer, when respiratory diseases, as everyone knows, flatten and go and, you know, and essentially vanish, all but vanish. And yet they're trying, so the lie's just going to keep coming. And just wait till we get into the autumn. Just wait until the wild respiratory diseases do come back. Then it'll be.
What, you mean flu? Regular flu, bless it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing that vanished mysteriously for the first time last year and didn't have. I mean, again, part of the great con. Flu didn't vanish; it was rebranded and renamed, and that's why, if you notice, the NHS.
I think it's a fair question, YouTube. I think it's a fair question. No, I mean, what happened a few years ago in the States? 20,000 people died in one flu season. 22,000 off the back of 220 flu cases, 2018-19, I think it was. What happened to flu? Oh, ban. Can't say that. Sorry, David. Sorry, just an aside.
But you're right. Asking questions like, what happened to flu? Asking questions like, well, exactly what is in the so-called vaccine? Asking questions about why can't we wait till we get the medium to long-term trial results? Those are perfectly reasonable questions.
You'd think so, eh?
YouTube shouldn't have a problem with, but does have a massive problem with. And that's because, unfortunately, YouTube is just another weaponized part of the battle to take away our freedom in the name of COVID, and that's what it's doing. And so that's why, Ollie, you know, if you ask a sensible question, there's the danger that you get a strike on YouTube. But you know, putting it bluntly, YouTube's the enemy. I've just got to put it out there. YouTube is as much of the enemy as Johnson and the rest, and the media, the BBC, all of them. These people are a collective who have united together to spin all kinds of dodgy information that doesn't stand up. It's not supposed to stand up. It's supposed to confuse people and panic them, and it succeeded in the main. Not all, but I mean, some of us, thank God, some of us have held strong. We won't be submitting to this. We're not going to be complying to this. They know that. And actually, the interesting thing for me is in the States, Ollie, I'll try to give you something.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. In the States, something disappeared. In the States, roughly 50% of the population there haven't submitted. They haven't complied. They haven't taken their jab, despite the fact that Dr. Anthony Fauci, you know, the modern day Mengele, tells them to do so. I see hope in the States because there's some resistance over there. And I see hope in France. I see some resistance over there. And I wish there was more resistance here in Britain, but maybe it will come. You know, maybe sometimes history pivots on small things, Ollie, small, almost incidental things. Maybe one of those moments will happen, and Brits will turn around and say, "Hang on, we've had enough of this." You know, but we still wait for that moment to arrive.
Yeah, no, sure. Absolutely. I wanted to ask you if you had any idea. I know, again, it comes down to, lies, damn lies and statistics, but on the international quack scene uptake, because it sounds as though, for example, in the UK, the uptake is pretty big, very significant, tens of millions. Whereas in, for example, on the African continent, the uptake is tiny, relatively speaking. What are your thoughts on the way that the vaccine is being, if you like, pushed out? I could say, as opposed to rolled out across the world.
Well, if you look at it in the international, it's an interesting question, this actually. If you look at Africa, and if you look at COVID deaths in Africa, you'll find that I think for the average African country, it's around about 300. Yeah, you heard that right, 300. The only countries in Africa that have any substantive mortality has been essentially South Africa. South Africa has been the kind of the fulcrum of so-called infection. But the average African country have only got a couple hundred people have died from this. So the truth of the matter is that Africa has not been impacted by COVID. So why the hell would Africa need to take vaccines? Yeah. Well, one reason might be if you're a pharmaceutical company and you see a market with 1.2 billion in it, maybe you want to jab them as well. So Africa is a great example of people who have been largely unimpacted by this. But I suppose if you give them enough vaccines, maybe that can change, because as we've seen in Israel, for example, the countries that take the most vaccines are the countries that have the most problems. Well, Israel's got 9 million living in it. I think it's 9 million or thereabouts. Africa's got 1.2 billion. So I can imagine if you were a manipulative big pharma company, you sure as hell want to vaccinate those Africans. So I stand by the Africans who reject this. But then there's this curious phenomena that we've seen. I think 4 African national leaders who opposed the vaccine have all curiously died, Ollie. They just died, fell over dead with COVID, or so we're told. So,
We saw the pictures. We saw the pictures, didn't we? In China. And all down the Ganges. All down the Ganges. I mean, the Ganges, it looked in a right poor state. Well, we're not seeing it down the Thames or the Rhine or the Seine, are we?
No, and even you're talking about the Ganges, like, for example, speaking to many of my Indian friends, the one thing that's perfectly clear, and again, I mean, YouTube can fact check this all they want, but it's everything I'm saying is factual. India got over its first wave of COVID in August, September of last year because, Ollie, it treated people using ivermectin, which is traditional in India.
Oh, we're definitely going to get banned now. We're definitely going to get... But you mentioned ivermectin. Oh, mate, you're not allowed to mention useful things.
I'm going to probably make it a little bit worse. In Africa, the reason why the numbers are so low is because what do they have to take regularly in Africa? Antimalarials. What are deemed to be effective to stop COVID? Antimalarials.
You're not talking about oxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine is an antimalarial.
Oh, double ban.
You're gone, Ollie. This is. I want to thank you for being part of the last ever episode of your show in the future. But I mean, seriously, India did escape the misery of this virus by using treatments which were cheap and readily available. And so, again, but of course, there's not a lot of money in these things. And that's another reason why we're not allowed to talk about some of these words. And as someone who spends his life and puts so much interest in using the right word and the accurate word, Ollie, it really offends me that I really have to struggle to watch my language, so to speak, because of the censorship of big tech, which is hateful.
Yeah, I agree with you. I too am a linguist, and it burrows out my heart with what they're doing to language and the desecration of the language, which of course happened with the very word pandemic, the definition of which they just decided to change, didn't they? 13 years ago to allow coronaviruses. Had they not changed that definition, then would they have been able to get away with kind of the stuff that they've got? I mean, how? Actually, let me rephrase the question. How on earth can anybody that ever did history at school, maybe spent a day learning about the Black Death or something, believe remotely that this is a pandemic? I mean, is it a vaccine? I'll ask you another way. Is it a vaccine or is it an IQ test?
I think it's definitely an IQ test, and unfortunately many people have failed it. But here's a good measure of a pandemic. It's a really simple one to grasp. In a pandemic, you suffer excess mortality. It's really simple. In other words, more people die than would ordinarily die.
Yes.
So it's a simple measure. So all you need to do is, for example, go on a really good site called Euromomo. Google Euromomo, and that gives you, I think, 26 different European countries, and it breaks it down over the last several years, actually, showing statistically significant excess mortality. Well, guess what? Where I live, you referenced Northern Ireland, where I live, there's been none. At no point, including March of last year, did we even have statistically significant mortality. And in fact, laughably, this year, we've had less than normal mortality. So fewer people are dying. So I'm sorry, in pandemics, it's the world's strangest pandemic where less people die than normal. Come on, you're kidding me. Of course it's not a pandemic. It's overt manipulation of language by those who are, the government pays some very clever people to use the whole issue, Ollie, of, the manipulating language and mnemonics, all of that, to program people, all the little catchy phrases, was it wash your hands, stay safe, protect the NHS, all that sort of crap. They did that deliberately. That's very clever people using words to condition people. And pandemic, the use of the word pandemic, ooh, it's scary. Well, not when the excess mortality is less than normal. It's not a pandemic, except, as you said, they changed it back. I think it was 2012. They changed the definition, almost like they knew something was coming down the road.
I want to ask you about Northern Ireland, and in just a sec. Let me just take a few comments first of all. The downliner says, also with a vaccine for flu that still kills between 350 to 600,000 a year, is it actually doing anything, or is it just a yearly depopulation on the elderly, question mark? As I understand it, the death rate, the average age of death has gone up from 80 something to 80 something with a little bit more in the UK.
The average COVID death is older than the average death.
Yeah, so it's actually a bonus to get it, according to that. I'm just very, very confused. Hector's House points out, roll out, get your free burger, referring to, what is it, kebab for a jab. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, David? The fact that now young people who apparently have bugger all risk, it's about 0.00001% of, even getting a sniffle from this COVID-19 or whatever it is, and yet they are being told, you must go and have your vaccine, and otherwise you will not be able to go on holiday, you won't be able to go to the pub, you won't be able to have a free life in the way that your grandparents fought for you, put their lives on the line for you to have. You're not allowed any of that, blah, blah. What are your thoughts on that, David, that the kids are being told, okay, it's not tested, never mind, take the vaccine and we'll give you a kebab?
That's right, exactly, yeah. A kebab for a jab, as you said. The thing about it is, if this virus is what they say it was, we were told this virus attacks the elderly, those with compromised immune systems. Do you remember that? We were told that. And then all of a sudden, within 12 months, it's been spun around, and now we're being told, oh, no. The kids are the most at risk. It's the kids that are the most vulnerable. So, what a really strange virus. In the space of 12 months, it turns around, and initially, because they've jabbed, well, I believe they probably have jabbed in the elderly age groups, a big percentage of those people. But there's this lucrative market of young people that aren't jabbed. So all of a sudden, this magic virus suddenly attacks these young people, allegedly, makes them sick, which I don't believe, and therefore it opens up the prospects for the pharmaceutical companies and the government to then stick the experimental treatments into these young people as well. Most perniciously, into those under 18. Because we know from the States, for example, from where Chris is, we know that kids have died in the States after having had this vaccine. But then the same hypocrites that are running the show here say, oh, well, if you've died within 28 days of a positive PCR death, you're a COVID death. But if you die within 28 days of having the vaccine, yeah, look, it could be anything. Any possible thing could explain it. Certainly not linked to the vaccine. So unfortunately, it is the crassest hypocrisy, lies that we've ever encountered, and we have to try our best to at least point them out to people. I think there are normies out there who do hear some of this stuff, and I think from talking to some of them myself, they do they look a little bit surprised when you say some things that, you can't kind of red pill them straight away, so you gotta talk in sort of sensible terms to them. But some of the things make sense. For example, loads of people took the jab to go on holidays, and then when they got the green list, remember the first green list, you could go to, what was it, the Falkland Islands, South Georgia. I think British Antarctica was added on. Yeah, so the government's taken the proverbial out of the public, and I think some of them kind of figure, I took the jab to go on holidays. Why can't I go on holidays without all the hullabaloo that is carrying on? So you just got to hope that some more normies waking up, because that's what we need in the UK. Because, like, for example, the French have been triggered by Macron pushing the vaccine passports. I wonder if Boris pushed the vaccine passport here really hard, would that get people up off their backs?
But what they seem to be doing, though, David, is it's the frog in the water scenario, isn't it? We put the frog in the water, cold water, turn the water up very slowly before the frog doesn't do anything, and then it's boiled. And it's the same strategy that they're using? Yep.
No, you're 100% right. It is absolutely the frog in the boiling water syndrome. And unfortunately, we seem to have millions of frogs in the UK. I thought they were all in France, but it turns out they're in the UK.
Unbelievable. I agree with you. Hats off to France, what they're doing. God bless them. Yeah. It would be amiss of me not to ask you about Northern Ireland while you're on the show. When you first came on the show, we were talking about Brexit. The show was called Daily Brexit, and we were campaigning for Brexit. Northern Ireland, did you get Brexit?
No. So Brexit's been an absolute catastrophe, a disaster for Northern Ireland. Now, I'll give you a small example, just as a by the by. Yesterday, I went into a pet shop to seek out particular foods for my dog, and they weren't available. And so I was asking the lady, well, what's the problem? And she said, well, the thing is, we can't get products A, B, and C reliably anymore because of the Irish Sea border, which Boris Johnson agreed to. So economically, Northern Ireland's been hived off from the rest of the UK. So we were betrayed by Boris Johnson, just like the rest of the UK has now been betrayed by him as well. Yeah. And so life here is quite difficult. We can't even get some of the, for example, Marks and Spencer's. Here's the thing. Marks and Spencer's have reduced their Christmas range by 30% for the good British citizens of Northern Ireland because it's just going to be too complex getting them across that little bit of water.
Because they can't bring stuff in from another member of the United Kingdom because of the doctrine, because of the diktat of this idiot Boris, who had that 80-seat majority, never needed to pass that damn withdrawal act thing, that had decided that, you know what, we will have a disunited kingdom now. Northern Ireland,
that's right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's caused a lot of, I have to say, almost street level anger here in Northern Ireland. So literally,
I've seen it in Londonderry. No, lots of it.
Exactly. And in Belfast, and in fact, just about you go around any village, any town, or more or less any village or town in Northern Ireland, and you will see banners up. People are not happy. They understand that the Irish Sea border was not supposed to be part of the deal. But as you say, Ollie, Johnson wanted to just get it away, get it done with. So he sold off the 1.9 million people that live here. And
unbelievable. I wonder if that isn't too kind a suggestion to suggest that he just wanted to get it done for some bit of the UK, for 3 of the 4 nations or what have you. I mean, was it not actually the case that it was always the plan to destabilise the United Kingdom and at least use Brexit to do that? And it's happening particularly now in Northern Ireland, but the ramifications are also for Scotland and possibly even for Wales.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, so Northern Ireland most definitely has been destabilised and put in a bad place. But the precedent is also there for Scotland as well. So Johnson, the absolute clown, could be the Prime Minister who does preside. If he manages to hang on in Downing Street long enough, he could preside over the breakup of the United Kingdom, which may indeed be part of the plan. And in a sense, because he submitted so meekly and pathetically to his globalist masters, you would actually have to question, Ollie, well, what exactly is the value of the United Kingdom? We don't protect our borders anymore. I mean, the southern beaches are basically landing zones for whoever wants to come across from France via the third world. And he's caused just putting British citizen against British citizen because of the draconian COVID regulations. This guy is absolutely leveling the United Kingdom down. And that's why, I believe anyway, he is the worst Prime Minister in living memory and arguably the worst Prime Minister that this country has ever had.
We got about 30 seconds on this question. How would you compare his leadership to the UK with that of Joe Biden in the United States?
Well, the thing about Biden is Biden doesn't know what day of the week it is. So Biden's living in his own little cocoon. I mean, I think he probably reckons it's about 1976 in his world. So he doesn't know, I don't believe, particularly what's going on, such as this level of, mental decay. Johnson knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. Johnson puts on an act. So I hold Johnson more culpable than I do Biden, although, I mean, obviously Biden is a pathetic, shambling apology for an American president.
I'm going to take a few comments after the break, people, after the break. And then I'll be finishing the show at about 5 past or what have you, just after the ad break with Revolution Radio. And so we're going to leave Revolution Radio in just a minute. I want to say a big cheers to you guys. Pat Rabbit coming up over there. So check him out. I will be. My favourite ASMR artist, God bless you, Patrick. And thank you very, very much indeed. WakeUpUK.net as well. I don't know if anybody bothered listening. I know that it's a peculiar time slot for Revolution Radio. For Wake Up UK. Hopefully we'll build an audience over there. But and on YouTube.com/Daily Chaos. Goodness knows if we're even going to be here next week. I don't know, but I definitely am going to be following David's and Dan's advice on Rumble, BitChute, bloody. Leaving Revolution Radio now, just a few minutes off the back of in a few minutes' time. So if you want to hang around, God bless you. This has been Daily Chaos. I'm Ollie Connolly. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy.
Listening to Revolution Radio.
Deep understanding.
Right, that's Rev Radio gone. Just a few minutes longer. I can pick your brains, hopefully, David, just for a few more minutes. Take a few queries, take a few comments as well. Pauline Davis, thanks, Ollie, to you and your guests. God bless you, Pauline. Thank you, everybody who donated to try and get the show to come up to 5 days a week last week. Thank you so much. Please, if you can afford to buy us a beer, I'm trying to raise 50 quid a show, quid, euros, whatever, I don't know, I'm not very good at currency calculations or business in general for that matter. If you can, 50 quid a show, then I will go full time Monday to Friday. I don't have much in the way of debt and so on, so I can afford to do that. And I you know what? I will be spending practically all that time booking guests. Anyway, Amanda Rolfson says they are not part of Great Britain. Oh yeah. Buy us a coffee facebook.com/Daily Chaos is the thing down there. Yeah, right. Amanda says they are not part of Great Britain, only the UK. Northern Ireland, that is. Maybe something to do with this, Ollie. Who knows? With the corrupt, twisted governments, never trust them again. Hector's House, he's a globalist. I guess he's referring to Boris. He could be referring to Biden. He could be referring to all the people in charge at YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, probably Boris in that case. In that particular instance. Celtic Vixen, I hate Johnson with a passion. We want a united kingdom. For goodness gracious sakes. David, Boris Johnson is the best political actor since Tony Blair.
Yeah, well, he is. I mean, he plays the role of the clown, but I don't buy any of that. He is a manipulator. He's calculated. He's dangerous. So, as you say, Tony Blair played the role, a different role. Boris played. I mean, even the name Boris annoys me, by the way, because that's not his proper name. But it's a bit like Uncle Joe. You know, tyrants love to be known by a single name. And in his case, he is. So, yeah, I despise him.
And I'll give you an example of why it seems to me the British public love this guy. Well, it's twofold. First of all, because he is a born entertainer. The other day he was in the rain somewhere, I don't know what it was, Chelsea Flower Show or something, something or other. And he had to put an umbrella up. Oh, no, it was something, I don't know, memorial thing or whatever. Had to put an umbrella up. The umbrella turns upside down and he looks like a buffoon and, is funny and everybody's laughing around him, trying to contain their laughter at a somber event as well. And the British people see that because obviously the media, they look at that and they go, oh, chubby, Boris, we love him. Do you love him? Don't you love him? Take your tyranny, God bless him, because he's prescribed by Uncle Boris. And all the British public seem to love that. They get taken in by first of all, the guy is a born entertainer, and the fact that it is sold so well by the mainstream media. I mean, we are pretty much defenseless, much as was the case with Tony Blair, when, he was like, so cool, man, so cool. It was like such a cool Britannia type gov that, of course, it was fine that he was going to kill a couple of million or at least 1 million in Iraq or whatever. Yep. It's a similar deal, no. It's easy to see how people are taken in by these people who are actually, frankly, when you look at it, in the case of Blair, definitely. In the case of Boris, the jury's out. We'll maybe, hopefully, have a Nuremberg 2 over this. Genocidal tyrants.
Yeah, that's what they have in common. Absolutely right. Yeah. Because although, you'd have to say that I believe Boris is worse than Johnson or than Blair because for this reason. So Blair, as you say, rightly so, he should be prosecuted as a war criminal for what he did overseas. Yeah. But Johnson is potentially causing a genocide in the UK because he has been responsible for all these tens of millions taking their jabs of their experimental gene treatment, and nobody knows how those people are going to be. I mean, I take no pleasure from saying this, by the way. I mean, I want to see my vaccinated friends be well and thrive and all of that.
Sure.
But we don't know. But Ollie, there's no way we have of knowing that. And yet Johnson's pursued that. So that's why I hold him even more contemptible, even more hateful than Tony Blair. I mean, there has to be a new level of hell excavated for Boris Johnson to reside in.
Wow, you make a really good point because I mean, Tony Blair, at least post Iraq, it was pretty difficult not to see the evil in the guy's eyes. Unbelievable to me that the BBC still have the temerity to roll the guy out on such a regular basis. Ditto with Alistair Campbell. I guess my final question to you, David, thank you for being such a wonderful guest again, is should I delete this show before it gets a strike from YouTube? And put it somewhere else now? What would your strategy be? Seriously, you've heard the content.
Okay, so I'll give you a practical answer. I probably would certainly delete anything I've said in this one because the algorithm will get you, right? But here's the thing: you shouldn't let YouTube win. So the way not to let YouTube win is to put the show out verbatim on the other platforms, direct traffic to it from YouTube, so you actually manipulate YouTube to your advantage, Ollie.
Quite right.
If you put this out as is, it's a hostage to fortune. And as I say, algorithms will hunt us down on use of words that we've even used and for questioning them. But then that allows YouTube to take you down. Don't let them do that. That's why I would put this out on BitChute, on Rumble, on Odyssey, on brand YouTube, wherever you can get it out. Put it out in a podcast. Put it out. This is what I do, and that way you can reach your audience and not be sacrificed to the gods of Silicon Valley. So that'll be my advice.
I'm going to be using that sage advice from David Vance and editing what he just said there and using it as a promo to fill the space of where this show is right now, explaining where people can go and see the thing because of YouTube's disgusting censorship. God bless you, David Vance. Thank you so much again for being such a fantastic guest.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Ollie. Speak to you again. Cheers now.
Very welcome. Very welcome, sir. That has been Daily Chaos. I remain Ollie Connolly. I think we've just left wakeupuk.net. Thank you, wakeupuk.net. I'll thank you now that you can't hear. I want to say a big cheers to Revolution Radio. Revolution.radio, support those guys. Wake Up UK, support them. You know what? Anybody that's trying to speak the truth or just have a debate, support them. I've got a few comments here. Downliner, just upload 5 minutes, then link to the entire thing on other platforms. Daily Chaos, he agreeing. Absolutely, Jay Carey, that is Downliner. I've outed Dan Grant with his real name today. I might as well do the same for the Downliner. And Boozy, bless you, mate, over in California. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, Boozy, man. Thank you. It was early for you, wasn't it?
One thing I would say, which is really interesting, is that the big tech giants have been found, and there's actually cases going forward to the Supreme Court where they've been found to be acting under government diktat and direction. Therefore, it makes them a pseudo-government entity, which means that they have to adhere to the Constitution. So they're potentially going to be facing the Supreme Court ruling that they have to adhere to all constitutional rights because they are a pseudo-governmental entity.
It would be wonderful if we could rely on judges and lawyers and things like judicial systems to deliver justice. Yeah, Boozy, God bless you, mate. Thank you. Thank you again.
Clarence Thomas has been very strong on what on saying that
he's one of the supreme justices, but he's the only one worth spit. He's the only one worth spit. No,
he's definitely. I would probably want to get rid of the Chief Justice and put Clarence Thomas as the Chief Justice.
Oh, you mean John Roberts? Well, the guy the guy. Well, yeah. Didn't he hang out with Epstein? Probably. Gates was there. Oh no! Another ban! Can't say that. Didn't hang out with the pedos. Oh no!
Well,
sorry.
That's what I would. Well, this is a thing.
Not pedos. Sorry, hebephile.
He was farming his kids out.
Epstein was a hebephile. Eh?
Chief Justice Roberts was farming his adopted children out.
You don't know that for a fact. Can we ask the question? Are we allowed to ask the question? He did. He was on the Lolita Express all the time, wasn't he? Going off to old Epstein's Pedo Island, or whatever it was called, in the Daily Mail, yeah? Daily Mail, YouTube. You're going to ban them too? I'll tell you what, it gets my ire. Do you know what I mean? Boozy, thank you, sir. And we'll chat again very, very soon, hopefully. I certainly hope so. It's good to know you're about, and you know that we can wake you up even before your breakfast. This has been Daily Chaos. I'm Ollie Connolly. Here's to us. Bugger plutocracy. I'll catch you next week.